Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Dr. Saima. I am a clinical psychologist. I work with adults who experience mental health problems in the NHS. I would like to discuss loss and grief issues and some of the challenges people may be faced with who've lost a loved one during the coronavirus pandemic. I would like to look at the emotional and physical effects of grief, discuss the 7-stage model of grief, and end by looking at more helpful ways of managing loss and grief issues experienced during the pandemic. Dealing with loss and grief during the coronavirus outbreak. Bereavement, which is a difficult experience under any situation, is taking place under very challenging circumstances during the coronavirus pandemic. If you have lost a loved one during this time, you may not have had the opportunity to support them in their final moments. Family members who've been exposed to the virus will be in self-isolation and unable to see their loved ones or attend the burial. Coronavirus has made being physically together very difficult. People are unable to be there to comfort others in their most difficult moments. Social distancing means that family and friends cannot gather to hold a funeral or engage in other practices and traditions which would normally occur after someone has died. Families are faced with a small graveside service with only a very small group of mourners, not being able to perform the rituals and traditions that take place after the death to honour the deceased and to offer emotional support to those grieving can be another source of distress and loss. Whilst these feelings are very distressing, it is important to remember that this is not a situation that you could control. The emotional aspects of grief. If someone dies of coronavirus, a number of things may be particularly hard for family and friends to deal with. Infection controls. This may mean that family members do not have the opportunity to spend time with someone who is dying or to say goodbye in person. Feelings of shock. Depending on the person, the illness may have progressed and become serious very quickly, which can lead to feelings of shock. If you are not able to be present for the death and cannot view the body, it may be difficult to accept the reality of the death. Looking for certainty. At times of considerable trauma, people tend to look for certainty. However, at the moment, that certainty is not there. This can increase any feelings of distress. Mental images. Bereaved people may be exposed to stories in the media which highlight the traumatic nature of death in these circumstances, or they may have witnessed distressing scenes directly. People may become disturbed by these mental images. Feeling guilty. Feeling guilty is very common when someone is bereaved. The need to blame someone after a traumatic or untimely death can be very strong. If someone has died of coronavirus, a bereaved person might blame themselves for infecting the person who died or for not being able to protect them. They may feel very guilty if they were not able to be with the person and pass on any last messages, even if it was not their fault. Feelings of anger and blame. Feelings of anger and blame are common after any bereavement. When someone has died under sudden or traumatic circumstances, it can make these feelings worse. Feeling angry is an understandable response to feeling out of control, powerless, or abandoned. When someone has died due to coronavirus, there may be other reasons to feel angry. People may feel angry and helpless that this situation arose at all. They may feel angry that their relative or friend did not receive the care that they should have. They may feel angry with the government if they feel there should have been more protection and stronger controls. Or they could be angry with people who took risks leading to infection. They may feel angry with the person who died for not protecting themselves. How can you help yourself? Coming to terms with anger will take time. Talking about your feelings with someone you trust will help. Remind yourself that these are exceptional times, and most people have been trying to do their best. If your anger has led to you saying or doing hurtful things to others, it can help to apologize. Fear. A loss can trigger a lot of worries and fears for the loved one and yourself. You may feel anxious, helpless, or insecure. You may even have panic attacks. The death of a loved one can trigger fears about your own mortality, or facing life without the person, or the responsibilities you are now facing alone. Physical aspects of grief. We often think of grief as an emotional process, but grief often involves physical symptoms such as feeling tired and exhausted with no energy to perform simple tasks, unable to sleep properly, nausea, unsettled tummy, lowered immunity. You may pick up more colds more easily. Aches and pains such as headaches, back pain, and muscular aches. Changes to your appetite, such as loss of interest in food or comfort eating. Given the current situation with coronavirus, most people are even more aware of little changes to their health in case they are too infected with the virus. Some of the symptoms above are normal symptoms of grief. If you have any concerns about your symptoms, contact your GP for further advice. Funerals. The current restrictions during the coronavirus pandemic mean many people are unable to attend funerals and gather to offer support to the deceased family. This is a very distressing reality. Since the lockdown came into effect in this country, many funerals are now taking place at the graveyard with attendance mainly by the immediate family. This is different to how funerals were taking place prior to the lockdown. Unless you are attending with the family you are isolating with, you need to stay 2 meters apart. This will be heartbreaking, being unable to reach out and give a loved one a hug, but it will save lives. Anyone with COVID-19 symptoms who is self-isolating after being exposed or who is in a high-risk group is not able to attend. It will also be really tough for anyone far away or who doesn't qualify as immediate family who also would want to be there. Funerals may be shorter than normal and are likely to be delayed, which will further increase emotional distress. The rules are the same whether or not the person has died of coronavirus and whether the funeral has been planned in advance or not. If you are planning a funeral, speak to your funeral director to make sure you are clear about the rules. Discuss with them how you can share the service. They may be able to live stream it on Facebook, or you could film it or take photos to share afterwards. How can you help yourself if you cannot attend the funeral? Ask those who have been able to attend to call you afterwards so that you can hear their account of the event. Take time to share your memories of the person. At some point in the future, you will be able to visit the grave of your family member or friend. How can you help someone else who cannot attend the funeral when you can? If you know that someone you care about is not able to attend the funeral, you may be able to help them at this very difficult time. If you are attending the funeral, find out if it is possible to take pictures, record the event, or live stream it. Offer to call the person afterwards. Let them know how it went. They may appreciate the chance to share their memories of the person who has died and hear your memories too. As time goes on after a funeral and people continue their lives, some bereaved people find that messages of support reduce. In times of social isolation and self-isolating, it will be even more important that they have someone to talk to. So try and stay in touch and let them know that you are thinking of them and can offer help and support. The 7 stages of grief. This is a general guide of what to expect whilst you go through the grieving process. You do not necessarily progress from one stage to the next. You can go through the stages in a different order. The first stage is shock and denial. You will probably react to learning of the loss with disbelief and may have thoughts like, "This can't be happening to me." You may deny the reality of the loss at some level in order to avoid the pain. The shock provides emotional protection from being overwhelmed all at once. This may last for weeks. The second stage is pain and guilt. As the shock wears off, it is replaced with the suffering of unbelievable pain. Although excruciating and almost unbearable, It is important that you experience the pain fully and not hide it, avoid it, or escape it. You may have guilty feelings or remorse over things that you did or didn't do with your loved one. Life feels chaotic and scary during this phase. The third stage, anger and bargaining. You may have thoughts like, why is this happening? Who is to blame? Frustration leads to anger, and you may lash out and blame someone for the death. Please try to control this, as this may lead to damage to your relationship. The fourth stage, depression, reflection, and loneliness. You may have thoughts, I'm too sad to do anything. Your family and friends may think that you should be getting on with your life. A long period of sad reflection will likely overtake you. This is a normal stage of grief, so do not be talked out of it by well-meaning people. Encouragement from others is not helpful to you during this stage of grieving. During this time, you finally realize the true magnitude of your loss, and it depresses you. You may isolate yourself on purpose. Reflect on things you did with your loved one and focus on memories of the past. You may sense feelings of emptiness or despair. The fifth stage, the upward turn. As you start to adjust to life without your loved one, your life becomes a little calmer and more organized. Your physical symptoms lessen and your depression begins to lift slowly. The sixth stage, reconstruction and working through. As you begin to do more activities of daily living, your mind starts working again. You will start to find solutions to problems of facing life without your loved one. You will start to work on practical and financial problems and building yourself and your life without him or her. The final stage, acceptance and hope. During the last stage of the grief model, you learn to accept and deal with the reality of your situation. I'm at peace with what happened. Acceptance does not mean instant happiness. Given the pain and turmoil you have experienced, you can find it difficult to exist as you did before this tragedy, but you will find a way forward. You will start to look forward and actually plan things for the future. Eventually, you will be able to think about your lost loved one without pain. You may still experience feelings of sadness, and this is a normal reaction. The excruciating pain will be gone. You will once again anticipate some good times to come and find some joy in the experience of living. Okay, myths and facts about grieving. So a myth, the pain will go away faster if you ignore it. Fact, trying to ignore your pain or keep it from surfacing will only make it worse. For real healing, it is necessary to face your grief and actively deal with it. Myth, it's important to be strong in the face of loss. Fact, feeling sad, frightened, or lonely is a normal reaction to loss. Crying doesn't mean you are weak. You don't need to protect your family or friends by putting on a brave front. Showing your true feelings can help them and you. Myth, if you don't cry, it means you aren't sorry about the loss. Fact, crying is a normal response to sadness, but it's not the only one. Those who don't cry may feel the pain as deeply as others. They may simply have other ways of showing it. Myth, grieving should last about a year. Fact, there is no specific time frame for grieving. How long it takes differs from person to person. Myth, moving on with your life means forgetting about your loss. Fact, moving on means that you've accepted your loss, and this is not the same as forgetting. You can move on with your life and keep the memory of someone you lost as an important part of you. Okay, managing bereavement and grief during a pandemic. Grief is a highly individual experience. The grieving process takes time. Healing happens gradually. Some people start to feel better in weeks or months. For others, it takes years. Whatever your grief experience, it's important to be patient with yourself and allow the process to occur naturally. Grief can feel like you are on an emotional roller coaster, feeling able to cope 1 minute and emotionally distressed the next. As time passes, the balance between good days and bad days will gradually start to shift. You will start to have more good days and fewer bad. When you are grieving, it's more important to take care of yourself. The stress of a major loss can quickly reduce your energy levels and affect your emotions. Looking after your physical and emotional needs will help you get through this difficult time. How can you help yourself? Seek support from family and friends. You may feel alone and may be self-isolating. You do not have to be alone with your grief. Now is the time to lean on people who care about you. Talking things through with family and friends can be very comforting. If you find that some of them are not responding in the way you hoped, this is often about their own fears and situation, or they may be feeling helpless as they cannot fix your grief. It can help to explain what you need at this time. It might be that you want someone to call you at times during the day which are most difficult to cope with, or you want to talk about the person who has died. Face your feelings. You can try to suppress your grief, but you can't avoid it. In order to heal, you need to acknowledge the pain. Trying to avoid feelings of sadness and loss only prolongs the grieving process. Unresolved grief can lead to complications such as depression, anxiety, and health problems. Express your feelings in a creative way. When someone has died, everyone has things which they wish they had said. Write a letter expressing all your feelings. Write about the good things and the bad things, the things you liked and the things you least liked, the things you could never talk about. Write about how you will remember them. Say goodbye. Get involved in a cause or organisation that was important to your loved one. Regular routine. Try to keep a regular routine of getting up and dressed and eating meals at the usual time, whether you are on your own or part of a family. The structure will help, even if only a little. Try to get some fresh air and sunlight each day by opening the blinds and windows. If you are allowed to go for a walk, run, or do some exercise in your home. You may find you have days when you have more energy and the grief is not too distressing. This is normal. Some people can feel guilty when this happens, but there is no need. It is all a normal part of grieving. Equally, if you are really struggling, that is also normal. There is no need to feel guilty or angry with yourself. Reach out to others who might also be finding it difficult. You may be able to help each other. Look after your physical health. The mind and body are connected. When you feel healthy physically, you'll be able to cope better emotionally. Manage stress and tiredness by getting enough sleep, healthy eating, and exercise. Draw comfort from your faith. Spiritual activities such as praying, reciting Quran, listening to the Quran, praying for the deceased can be comforting. Try to maintain your hobbies and interests. There is comfort in doing the activities that bring you joy and connect you closer to others. This can help you to come to terms with your loss and aid the grieving process. Don't let anyone tell you how to feel and be kind to yourself. Your grief is your own and no one can tell you when it's time to move on. Let yourself feel whatever you feel without judgment or embarrassment. It's okay to be angry, to cry, or not to cry. It's okay to laugh and to find moments of joy. Be kind to yourself. Plan ahead for grief triggers. The firsts are difficult. First Ramadan, the first Eid, and special moments you have shared. Be prepared to feel emotionally and physically distressed and know that it's completely normal. Get in touch with family and friends and let them know that day is coming and that you are likely to need a call on that day. How can you help another person? You may not know how to best help or support a family member or friend who is grieving. At this time of fear and uncertainty, many people are struggling more than usual. Supporting someone in their grief is not easy. One of the best gifts you can give to someone you care about is to let them know that you are here for them if they need you. So an example of this. After my aunt died, I wrote about the positive influence she had on my life, and I sent it to my uncle in an email. He thanked me for my kind words, and I hope it helped him to feel some relief. Stay in contact with bereaved family and friends through phone calls, text, or video calls. Let them talk about how they are feeling and about the person who has died. Talking can be one of the most helpful things after someone dies. If you are worried that they may be experiencing very severe symptoms, you could suggest that they contact CARUS, which is a bereavement support helpline, and I'll give you some details about that, or their GP for further advice and support. If you are struggling to support a family member or friend with their grief, you can call or email CARUS and discuss how you are feeling. While you cannot take away someone's grief, you can make them feel less alone. Talk to a therapist or a grief counsellor. If your grief feels like too much to bear, find a mental health professional with experience in grief counselling. An experienced therapist can help you work through intense emotions and overcome the obstacles to your grieving. If you're feeling very distressed, share your feelings with someone you trust. If your feelings are unmanageable, contact your GP or the National Bereavement Helpline CARUS. So CARUS is a bereavement helpline. It's free. It's open Monday to Friday, 9:30 till 5, excluding bank holidays. And on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday evening, they're open until 8 p.m. CARUS Manchester is in the process of setting up a bereavement support helpline. So there's a mobile number that you can call and leave a message, or alternatively, you can email them. There is also Age UK Manchester Counselling Service, which is a free and confidential service for Manchester residents aged over 60 and their carers. There is also the Silver Line, which is a free and confidential helpline providing advice and befriending to older people. There is also the Children's Bereavement Support, which is Once Upon a Smile, and there's a link here that you can have a look at and get some further support if there's a child who's experiencing a loss. There is also Khizra Mosque, a brother and a sister who can be contacted after 5 p.m. Alternatively, you can email them. There is also self-refer for psychological therapy through the NHS IAP service. So there's a self-help number or a web link where you can refer yourself for some counselling or support. They're using social media for grief support. Memorial pages on Facebook and other social media sites have become popular ways to inform others of a loved one's passing and to reach out for support. These pages allow family and friends to post their own tributes or condolences. Reading such messages can often be comforting. Posting sensitive content on social media has its risks. To gain some protection, create a closed group on Facebook rather than a public page, which means people have to be approved by a group member before they can access the memorial. As many people will be unable to have face-to-face support at this time, social media can be a useful tool for reaching out to others. I just want to now go through some tips for coping with emotional pain, which can really feel very difficult to manage. So distancing. Learn to distance yourself from the emotion, and you can do this by stay with the emotion so that you're not avoiding it or suppressing it or escaping from it. Step back, notice the intensity. Be aware of any thoughts, feelings, or behaviours that are associated with that emotional pain. Have a sleep. Go to a safe, comfortable place. which could be a favourite chair, a favourite room. Communicate. Write them down, write a letter, speak to somebody, phone a trusted friend, contact a support helpline. Distraction. Clean the house, watch TV, listen to online lectures, play a board game or a puzzle, read about the lives of the prophets and the greatest women in Islam. Exercise, go for a walk, run or do a DVD workout. Self-soothing. So touch, have a bath, wrap yourself in a cozy blanket. Through your vision, look at beautiful things like nature or go for a walk in nature. Hearing, listen to the Quran, listen to the birds. Eat a healthy meal, light a scented candle. Imagine a better time. Mind. Using breathing and relaxation exercises will help you cope much better with emotional pain. Using mindful exercises and also yoga. Encourage yourself. Say positive things to yourself when you are experiencing any form of emotional pain. So things like, I can stand it. The more I tolerate it, the stronger I get. I am allowing myself to feel my feelings. I can get through this. Jazak'Allah Khairan for listening to me today. May Allah comfort you in these difficult times. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.